Hi, everybody, and welcome to the lounge on this lovely Friday evening. How's everybody doing tonight? I know we missed you on the 4th of July weekend, but I had to take a little break to actually, this is my first year seeing fireworks in my backyard. Yep. We had we had an actual show of like people buying fireworks and like setting them off. And I was a little freaked out by the whole thing because I only saw fireworks like far away, but I got to experience them up close and center, and that was kind of cool. Yelling to people to run fast away because I was so like freaked out. But hopefully, you guys have had a wonderful, wonderful 4th of July weekend. I know things in this world have been a little bit difficult, and the energy, especially in the last 3 months, has been super, super difficult. A lot of changes, a lot of transitions. If you're feeling a little foggy right now, feeling like you can't get your energy moving, feeling a little tired, sluggish, like you're moving through sludge, that's where the energy is. And I just want to tell you, keep it going. If you're feeling like you should, the should be doing better, should be producing more, should. You need to reel it back in and just be like, you know what? I'm going to exist at the pace that I need to exist at. Now, July is a whole other energy, a whole nother ball of wax, whole nother bundle of energy. And if you are not on my email list, I urge you to go into the description of this video, down or up, whatever it may be, on Facebook, on YouTube, and sign up for my email list. Then you will be getting my exclusive monthly energy forecast, which goes out on the 15th of every month. And I go over all the key dates of the month and the timing of the universal energy, your personal energy, and when are the best days, when are the best weeks, when are the best periods of time to make the best decisions in relationships, love, work, career, romance, just spiritual path. You want to know when the best timing is, and this is going to be your guide. So, if you would like to get my monthly energy forecast, it's a video forecast. It will go into your inbox on the 15th. So, it is now the 8th. So, you have a couple days to get on to my newsletter on my email list because once the 15th comes around, then it's already sent out. So don't miss the ball. Get on there and get your subscription to my monthly energy forecast. So, oh my goodness. If you are new to the lounge, Heidi Ho, how are you? I am intuitive and media Marissa Liza Pell. We are on every Friday, 9 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. And we have live music. We have amazing guests. We have just had our first round of interviews with people who have had near death experiences. They have been to heaven and come back and came on the lounge to tell us all about it. So if you'd like to see some of those interviews, if you're on YouTube, make sure that you hit the subscribe button so that you're knowing when we're going live so that you can interact with us in the live chat. And on Facebook, make sure you're liking our page so you can also interact with us in the live chat. And so tonight we are bringing on Mr. Dustin Vaughn. You know what? I do this every show. I do it every show. I always forget when my guest is backstage to say, how do you pronounce your last name? Because I know that I don't like people saying to me, oh, Lisa, how are you? They always think like my name's because Marissa Liza Pell. And some people are like, oh, call the office. They're like, I'd like to make an appointment with Lisa, please. And I'm like, who's Lisa? I don't know who Lisa is. Or Marisa or Michelle or Marissa with 2 S's. I'm the Marissa with 1 S. Marissa Lisa Peel. No, especially if I'm on a podcast or I'm on a show, people should pronounce my name correctly. So I'm not going to make that mistake and then have Dustin be like, she didn't even ask how to pronounce my last name. So I'm going to bring him on and he's going to tell you what his last name is. But before we go there, I'm just going to tell you a little bit about our guest tonight because I'm very excited. If you remember our interview with Steve Gardipee, the helicopter war veteran who had the near-death experience, Dustin was the reason behind this interview. He was the one who helped me convince Steve to come on the show, and is a good friend of Steve's and had his own spiritually transformative experience and deals with a lot of people with near death experiences. So he knows the drill. So I found him extremely interesting. And I said, Dustin, why don't you come on our show? So he's very excited. I don't know if he's very excited. I'm just kind of saying that because I want you guys to think he's very excited. Maybe he's not. Maybe he's just like, all right, I'm just going to do this. I'm kind of excited. So don't listen to me. Maybe he's not excited. We'll find out when he comes on. But I want to tell you a little more about him. So he's an author, he's a speaker, he's an outdoor TV show host and producer. And I want to hear more about that. Dustin Vaughn, I am going to try to pronounce his last name, Warncke. Let me see if he's looking at me backstage. Is it correct? Okay, he's saying yeah. Okay. Good. Has served as a motivational speaker and master teacher and worked with numerous small businesses in sales, marketing, website development, desktop publishing, and business consulting with his company, Warncke Enterprises. He earned a bachelor's degree from Texas Lutheran University in 2002. He not only has earned that, but he's authored 9 books in paperback, in ebook format, and is working on his 10th book now. Well, let me tell you, congratulations, because I have about 10 of them on my shelf, all gathering dust. So if you can actually push that baby out, I give you a lot of credit. He also films, edits, produces hunting, fishing, and other outdoor adventures. And these could be seen along with Steve's original interview for his near-death experience, which has over 1 million views on Dustin's channel. He has a YouTube channel and Gen 7 Outdoors, which is a streaming outdoor TV network on Roku and Amazon Fire TV. Dustin also works with NDE Radio with Lee Whitting. NDE Radio is Near Death Experience Radio. Lee is another host that interviews people with near death experiences, and Dustin works as a technical admin and Facebook page manager for Lee, and works to spread hope and love through showcasing near death experiences, spiritually transformative experiences, and other experiences with the great beyond. Connection beyond, as we know, of the afterlife and the spiritual realm. In the past, he has served as the associate publisher for Texas Fish and Game magazine and has authored several feature articles in this publication for over the past 7 years. Dustin's goal in all that he does is to inspire others to do great things and to live with love, joy, purpose, meaning, and significance. So I am very excited to bring him on board. Welcome, Dustin Vaughn Warncke. Hi.
Yay! It's actually Warncke, but that's okay. You're putting an extra E in there, but you're doing great, Marissa.
Warncke.
And okay. I am really excited to be here because you were questioning if I was going to be excited to be here, and I'm so excited to be here with you tonight, rocking a Friday, having a great time.
Sometimes I don't even know if it's Friday or if it isn't these days. Do you know what I'm saying? Don't ever know.
Yes.
So, Dustin, I'm gonna reel you in like the fishing pole that you are, with fishing and hunting. I'm gonna fish for you, reel you in, because I was literally with Dustin. I have to tell you guys, like on the phone with Dustin almost every other day. We're like, are we gonna get Steve? Are we gonna get Steve? Like, I'm like, I'm sorry that I'm just like badgering you this much. She's like, no, I'm in sales. It's okay. I like when you reach out. And I'm like, okay, that's good, because I just badgered. So finally we got Steve on the show. And so Dustin is responsible for getting Steve's message out to the world. And so we thank you, Dustin. The Lounge thanks you. Our listeners thank you for giving us the opportunity to be one of the few that Steve will interview with, and has given us that amazing account of his near-death experience. So thank you so much. And I'm sure that I hope you guys, after the show, went out for something to eat and you guys had a great experience on the Lounge.
Absolutely, yeah. He had to leave like right after to get back home because he doesn't drive that well at night because he's older and everything. But he really appreciated the time with you guys. Had a great interview with it. I thought it was one of his best interviews. I was here right next to him over here, listening to the whole thing. But he had his headphones on, so all I could hear was him. And then I listened to the whole interview when it went live, and I thought it was great.
Thank you.
Yeah, I thought it was a great interview. You did great. Good questions, Marissa.
I love asking questions. I love to get to the bottom of things. And sometimes people are
Yeah.
like, oh my God, Marissa asking. I went to a 4th of July party with one of my relatives, okay, like over the weekend. And always knew what kind of job she did. She works in the hospital as anesthetist, a nurse
An
anesthetist.
esthetician.
I have a
Yep.
problem saying that. But I was just like deep interview and I'm like, so what kind of music you guys listen to during surgeries and what are you doing? Like sitting there and I'm like, I found out so much more about what when you go and get surgery and when you're put under what people actually do when you're being, anesthetized.
Hmm.
It's just interesting when you don't know much about somebody's job. So I'm very interested in what people do and on a deep level. And with you, I'm just like, we talked and now you're running around the country saying, let's get Steve's message out here. But you actually you're pushing Steve's message, but you have your own set of experiences. You've had your own podcast. So what I have found, I didn't even know, first of all, when I first started interviewing people on this, I had my own experience when I was 14. I talk about it sometimes on the show, where I saw things that were indicative of seeing things from the other side. And I have found out that there's a name for that, which I didn't realize, which is called a spiritually transformative experience that I had at 14, which is different than a near death experience, which you need to die to have, clinically. So you have had both of these, correct? Or just one?
I've had, well, technically, I've had both because I had an NDE back in March of 2021. I have a heart defibrillator implanted right here on my side, and they
Mm.
were going in to test it. And they basically put and this is going to be in my upcoming book. They put my heart into a troubled rhythm, and then the defibrillator didn't want to like shock me out of it the way that it was supposed to. And
Ooh.
so basically they had to shock me with the paddles 3 times to bring me back. And when I came back from that, I had this beautiful vision of Jesus Christ's face. I could just see
Mm.
his face like on a gold bronze looking plate. And it's hard to explain, but it's just burned in my mind. Kind of like if you like stare at a flashlight or something, it would just kind of like burned in there, kind of like a light would be burned in
Yeah.
your eyes, temporarily,
Right.
when you stare into a flashlight or a bright light or anything like that. So Lilia Somalio, who's one of the gals that I do NDE radio with, actually the only woman that I do NDE radio with, besides Lee, we kind of work as a trio. She sends me the stuff I posted. She said basically I had a veiled near-death experience. And I'll have dreams where I tell people about this near-death experience and I cry. So I know there was some
Wow.
substance to it, but I don't have a memory of it.
Okay.
So that's why it's a veiled experience. And I guess if I was to do a regressive hypnotherapy or something like that, I thought about
Mhm.
doing something like that to recover the memories, but maybe I'm not supposed to have the memories. I'm not sure. So that's just to give you an insight on that. And then can I tell you about my ST when I was
Oh,
15?
yes, please, because it seems like we had our STEs kind of along the same age.
You were 14, I was 15. I had just become
Yes.
a Christian. I was going through a lot of turmoil with my spirituality, and a lot of questions. Things would happen and I'd be like, am I really saved? Am I really a child of God? Am I really going to heaven? Is any of that going to be true? Is Jesus really with me? All these questions, and I'm by
Mhm.
myself because my family during that time is not really religious. I really can't go to anybody besides my church clergy with questions like this, and it's just this
Mhm.
inner turmoil. And so I sleep one night. I have this dream, and in this dream, I see Christ, Jesus Christ Himself, beautiful man, in a white robe, as he's a lot of times described, white robe, surrounded by flora and fauna, mainly animals.
Wow.
And like this is very different from what Lee Whitting said of a lot of other people's visions of Christ, because I literally remember there was a deer with spots on it, and years later I would go on to sell axis deer live to ranches and stuff like that. They have spots, like a fawn would, like a whitetail fawn would, spots.
Mhm.
And so basically I would see birds and just all these, almost like it was almost just but it was so real, all these birds and deer and all kinds of animals around Jesus. And I heard the following words, and this is all Jesus said, but it was said telepathically, like a lot of these experiences are. And the words were, I am neither ahead of you nor behind you. I am neither ahead of you nor behind you. That is all that was said. And I woke up with this feeling that I felt in my NDE in March of 2021 when I was on the operating table, with this peace that goes beyond all human understanding. A peace that I felt with other, I believe, dreams and all kinds of different, processes that I've gone through, that I've had issues, and I've gone to sleep, and I'll hear a voice, or I'll hear some kind of visitation from Christ again, that I'll wake up with that peace that goes beyond all human understanding. It is a peace that is love times a million. And it's just so impactful because it's the peace that everything's going to be okay.
Mm-hmm.
And then no matter what, and I lived my life for years not thinking that everything was going to be okay, even after this experience, that I was going to be, a homeless man pushing a shopping cart down, Congress Avenue in Austin,
Right.
that I wasn't going to be, and I think that's one reason why I'm such an overachiever and I've written all these books and done all these things. It's just that you can see awards behind me, I mean, I go hard in the paint. But it's just one of those things that I didn't believe I was going to be okay. And the one thing that I've learned from listening to all of the indie radio shows from Lee Whitting is two things that are true from people that come back with these experiences. And that is the fact that everything is as it should be in some weird, sometimes not making sense way, sometimes confusing way. Everything is as it should be, and everything's going to be okay.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm going through a situation right now, a financial situation, it's just a difficult situation right now that I got caught up in. And basically, I get these visions sometimes of Jesus carrying me through this. I get these visions sometimes, and these thoughts sometimes that just enter my head telepathically that say, son, everything's going to be okay. And I know I'm comforted by that because I know that's God speaking to me. That's the spirit of life speaking to me and speaking life into me. No matter what odds I face, I know I'm going to be okay. And even though that doesn't make sense, and a lot of people say, no, things in this world aren't as they should be. Things are this world, shouldn't. But in some weird way, the way that God and his perfect plan and God's perfect plan does these things, everything is as it should be, and everything's going to be okay. Those are the two things that are going to be in my next book.
Yeah, I could imagine when you're going through some trials and tribulations, and with everybody going through a pandemic for a number of years, and people afraid to leave their house, and the anxiety, the depression, everybody's nervous system is out of whack. People are, I've had people that have left this world, didn't die of, just left, because of how hard the world is right now. And so you having these experiences even after you've had a spiritual transformative experience and your NDE, and you're still having those moments where you're having that peace and you're having that comfort in between those experiences, because it's kind of like you think you have those experiences and then you're like, okay, well, I had it and that was it. And
Yeah.
when I can relate to you, because when I had mine at 14 and I woke up, um, I experienced a feeling that I knew I wasn't going to get on the earth. You know what I mean? I was like, I want to go home. And I was home. I was 14. I was in my room, and there was this feeling of longing for home, that I knew what that feeling was, but it did like dissipate after that. And I think I spent maybe the next 10 years seeking it, and maybe not so good ways of seeking
Yeah.
it, of being like, I want this euphoria. And how am I going to achieve that? How am I going to get that euphoria? And sometimes you try many things to get that high, whether, whatever that is, a new relationship, shopping, eating, drinking, whatever it was. and nothing,
chasing that high. Yeah.
yeah,
And nothing
nothing,
compares.
even success, even like, trying to achieve the next level of success, you get that high a little bit and then it's like it wears off.
Yeah.
So it's doesn't even compare to what that feeling I had when I woke up that day, or from my experience of the light entering, when I was in the experience of the light going through my body and the euphoria that I felt standing there when the light was
Yeah.
going through. uh it was a euphoria that I don't think I could ever describe to somebody, you know?
Yeah, and that's the thing. It's indescribable the feeling that you have when you have one of these experiences. And I know some people that haven't had the experience are just like, oh, geez, just to get a glimpse of it and feel like it. And I'm like, I mean, the thing that Jesus was saying to me, to go back to my experience, I'm neither ahead of you or behind you. He was saying he was with me, but it was one of those things that like it was kind of in a roundabout way of saying it, because like I didn't understand, I didn't believe that anybody's with me at that point. I thought I was on
Right.
my own.
Right. You felt alone.
And I
Yeah.
felt that ever since, that somebody's walking with me, that Jesus is. And like Steve said on his show, first of all, I've got to say something about Steve's experience. I didn't realize he went down on 5 helicopter crashes
Wait, you
before
just
he
learned
had
that?
the near. I've been telling that story ever since your show, because the thing is, I'm like, all these naysayers on YouTube that are sitting there going, oh, this guy is just full of beans and this, that, and the other. I'm like, how many helicopter crashes have you been on?
Right, right, yeah.
I mean,
Yeah.
and walked away from, I'm like, this guy is a real guy, so. But when it comes to that, like I just look at the uniqueness that we all are, and that the fact that we live in a life that we are born an original but we die a copy. And I brought that up. That's a Les Brown quote. We are all born an original. We many of us die as a copy. And the thing is, you should celebrate your originality. And that's the one thing my near death experience taught me, was coming out of that Jesus is with me, and that I can live in that power. I can live in that knowing and be a blessing to other people, because I know that God is with me through
Right.
Jesus, or whatever the case may be. And so,
Yeah.
I can live in that originality, that I'm a unique creation. Another Les Brown quote is that, you were chosen at a 400 million sperm. As crazy as that sounds, 400 million sperm, and God chose you into existence. You are an amazing creation. And you are a unique, amazing creation. And there'll never be another one of you, Marissa, Dustin, Sandy, Jamie, anybody. There'll never be another one of you in the history of the universe. Isn't that powerful?
It really is. It really, really is.
So
Yeah.
that's the kind of stuff I talk about in my latest book, is just that who you really are. You are God's beloved. Like you are a spiritual treasure. Embrace that. Don't give up hope. Give hope.
Yeah, I did have a question. It's interesting. I interviewed a number of people on this show, all different experiences. And you're saying you had your church, you had your clergy, your Christian, and I there were a couple people I talked to off the show that said, they would go back to their church and tell them, ask for support because they had these experiences, and some of them did not have the best reaction from their pastor, or through now there's different. I mean, I was raised Catholic, so it's a different, different than a born again Christian. I'm assuming different avenues there. But from what as some of the stories I've heard is that um, some people's experiences through their church or clergy was like, oh, that didn't happen, or just that's a negative thing, or
It was just
don't.
a dream. Yeah,
Yeah,
you were
yeah,
hallucinating. Yeah.
yeah. So did you have that kind of did you have support, or did you have people try to say, this isn't something you should be entertaining?
I had support. I was not one of those Christians, and I was raised Lutheran.
Yeah.
and I was new to Lutheranism, didn't even really know who Martin Luther was, who was an amazing man. But basically, I was new to Lutheranism when all this happened. I had a great man that I'm still friends with. He's a pastor now, but he was a youth pastor and just graduated the same college I went to, Texas Lutheran. Go Bulldogs! And basically, he would listen, he would entertain, but I was very private about the experience I had because I was afraid, like many people with STEs and many people with NDEs, that I was going to be judged.
Right.
And the thing that like my mother was talking about going to church, and this is right in line with what you're saying, Marissa. Going to church this past Sunday and in Sunday school, talking about these mystical experiences that people have with NDEs, with seeing loved ones from the past and so on and so forth, or
Yeah.
having visitations and dreams and
Yeah.
things that you and I are commonalities
Yeah.
to us. They would come back through and basically, the leader of the Sunday school group would say, that's not in the Bible.
Mhm.
It's not, it didn't really, so if it's not in the Bible, it didn't happen. And I'm just sitting there going, okay, I read the Bible and, understand it and really look at it as more of a historical document than anything. But, a lot of people believe it's the solemn word of God and everything like that. All of those things that happen in the Bible, all those magical, mystical experiences were magical, mystical experiences. So you can't say that those don't happen in modern time. I mean, you can't say, think about this. You can't say that Moses talking to a burning bush didn't happen, but I had an
Right.
NDE. You can't say that Paul falling off of the horse because he was blinded by Christ on the road to Damascus didn't happen, but I didn't have a spiritually transition experience with Christ. I
Mhm.
mean, if Paul did, why can't I have a spiritually transition
Right.
experience with Christ? So, and I'm not getting biblical or
Yeah,
religious
no.
here at all.
Yeah,
I,
it's
I I'm just like, dude, mystical experiences happen all throughout the Bible, and
yeah,
people,
that's what
poo
it's
poo
about.
people's modern near death experiences, and I'm like,
Yeah.
you're throwing the baby out with the bathwater here.
That's true, and then, it talk a lot of prophesizing in the Bible and a lot of
Yes,
God, and even in churches today, and, it's just the judgment sometimes about, what we're able to do and not do.
right.
And yeah, I do know a lot of people in this industry that are that classic connected to not good things, not good
Hmm.
energy. But there's a
Yeah.
lot of lawyers and doctors out there that are corrupt too. It's kind of like there's people on the the wrong side of the gate. But I think
Yes.
it all depends on where you're coming from with it and where it's coming through, and how it's coming through, and the protection that you're asking for.
It's intention at the end of the day, and
Hmm.
I don't care who you are. I think at the end of the day, and most of your listeners, I think, would agree with me that intention is what God picks up on, not what you do or say or whatever. It's the intention in your heart that is
Yeah.
important to what we are. If you want to say we're judged after, Steve didn't feel judgment; he felt forgiveness and that kind of stuff in his experience. But it's the intention and the intentionality of the of the spiritual act or the spiritual feeling or whatever the case may be that's important, that
Mhm.
makes a difference.
Yeah.
So I mean that's anyway, that's a whole nother we could go in a whole
No, I
nother
mean,
rabbit
I
hole
was
with that.
raised to, like, know about a God that was a judgment, a
Yeah.
God of judgment, and that you've heard of Catholic guilt before, it's kind of like there's guilt everywhere, guilt, guilt, guilt. And from what I'm hearing from all these near-death experiencers, they're coming back saying, "No, God loves me. No, God was there. He understood. There's no judgment.
Right.
All he cares about," and I say he just because it's just a term that I'm using because that's how I can, just describe the
Hmm.
being.
Uh-huh.
Um, what they came back with was he just wants you to love and be kind to others, and that's it. That's all we need to do. And
Yeah.
so how is your fear at this point in life? Do you fear death at all, or are you 100% convinced that, we go on? Are you still a little skeptical even after your experiences?
I'm a Gen Xer. I'm at the very end of Gen Xer, and we
Yeah.
typically are skeptical, individuals as Gen
Yeah.
Xers. So I have doubts every once in a while, but then I look at all the near death experiences, and I've listened to probably hundreds, maybe thousands of them. Steve's is probably one of the most profound experiences that I've heard, and I know you said the same thing, Marissa, with
Mhm.
what you've said about his experience being so impactful to you, but I mean, I don't. Do I fear death? I think in some way we fear what is unknown to us personally, right? Most of your listeners could agree with that. We fear what we have not personally experienced. So unless you've
Yeah.
had a near death experience, I don't expect you to be like, I'm not afraid of death. I'm not afraid of the great beyond. I'm not afraid of what's next, in life. What I believe we're here for, the two reasons why we exist in physical manifestation is to learn to love and care about each other and to acquire knowledge. Those are the two reasons I believe we live in the physical existence of this world: to love and care about each other and to acquire knowledge for
Yeah.
what is next. So that's my own personal thing, and I've learned that from the NDEs that I've been through and that kind of stuff. But that's what a lot of the NDEs have
Mhm.
taught me. And then I realized that a lot of NDEs have taught me not to fear, not to be afraid, to know that God is always with us, that God loves you more than anybody on this planet, and He loves the next guy the same way. And I mean, there's an immense amount of love that we could never even imagine how much we are loved. And that's a beautiful thing because, like I said earlier, about, to kind of go off on the tangent of, you're a unique creation. Well, God created you as a unique creation from love, the love of two people. And basically, you were created by love to love. Right. And so that's another thing I've learned from NDEs is basically, God created us out of love to love God. And one of the things Steve would say in his experience is that God had a need that he felt. And a lot of people say God doesn't need anything, but God created us like a parent creates a child, or makes a child in a sexual union to love each other, to love the world and to love them back.
Yeah, and I think something that's also powerful is that we think that we have to love other people at the expense of ourselves, because most people are good at loving others, but then the lesson of loving themselves and really accepting themselves, and not being critical of themselves and non-judgmental, because a lot of people that have gone to the other side really didn't that came back didn't really love themselves going over there. They were had a lot of shame, a lot of guilt, and they found that God's love and non-judgment, they came back and said, you know what, I am loved. Or maybe they went over there thinking that they were bad in some way, they were flawed, they were shamed. And I see that a lot of people, there's a lot of suicides, a lot of people not love. And if they only knew that maybe they weren't loved in their families, maybe they had dysfunction or trauma. And I think part of what we need to learn too, because it's hard to give it, we don't have it to give.
That's right.
You know?
It's hard to fill from an empty bucket.
Yeah.
It's hard to fill from an empty glass. And so the one thing I was going to bring up to your point there, if that's okay, Marissa,
Yeah, sure.
is you've never been loved more than you are right now. All right. So that's the first thing to realize. The other thing is an exercise I like to try with myself that I learned from Brian Tracy, who is a sales author, big sales trainer, that kind of stuff. And that's to say the following statement. And I'm going to have you repeat it after me, and maybe your audience repeat it after me virtually. I like myself.
Oh, you want me to say it? Oh, I like myself.
I like myself.
I have to say it again. I like myself.
I like myself.
I like myself.
I feel terrific.
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 3 times. Each of
Okay.
those statements as affirmations, I feel terrific. Do you feel better? Do you feel better?
I don't
I'm
know.
just saying. Do you feel because the thing is, like, when you make those self-actualization statements, even if you're having a rough day, and today was a rough day for me, all right?
Yeah. Yeah.
There's lots went on. It was just crazy. It was just nuts. I say those things to myself because they make me realize the self-actualization of self-love.
Okay.
And realizing, and that's why I had you say it 3 times and repeat after me, is because I like myself and I feel terrific. You will fire yourself up no matter how bad your situation is, a lot of times, because you have that self-worth. I like myself. I feel terrific. And so having and repeating those things to yourself, just those 2 things you can remember. You can say that to yourself when you're in the shower, right? Okay. Or when you're getting ready for work, or whatever the case may be. That's what fires me up. And that's going to help you with, visualization and so many other things in life that breed success.
Yeah. So funny enough is that today I didn't feel terrific. I was tired. I felt a low energy. I'm like, man, I am dragging today. And so I think it's interesting that you had me say I feel terrific because I did not feel terrific at all. I actually felt like, oh my God, like I am, I'm not feeling terrific today. But now that I said that 3 times, gave me a little, gave me a little energy,
A little
gave me a
shot in
little,
the arm,
little good.
Yeah,
Yeah.
there's nothing wrong with that.
Yeah.
So I just encourage your listeners to look at, look at self-talk is what that really is, right?
Hmm.
That is the dialogue that we all have with ourselves. And you've got to get out of stinking thinking and have positive thinking be the reward. What you feed yourself is what you ultimately become. What you think is what you ultimately become in life. And that's another thing that these near-death experiences has taught me is basically when I influx into me, positive energy, and I listen to positive things and I read positive things and I, speak positive things start to happen. Doesn't always the case. Life rains on all of us, right? And I've certainly been through my share of depression and anxiety and so many other things in my life. But at the same time, like I go back and think about it, I think, Marissa, I think if I did not go through my depression in 2013, my doctor would have never found one of my profound neurological disorders that I have and basically diagnosed it and given me treatment for it.
Hmm.
So it's that silver lining that you have to look for. It's that gold in the cloud that you have to search for sometimes. It's the needle in the haystack sometimes you have to search for. But if one thing didn't happen to me, then this positive thing wouldn't have happened to me. And how many times have we gone through life and we go through a situation, we go, that was the worst thing that could have ever happened to me was that right there in the moment, right? But then we look back at it a year or two
Yeah.
later, and what do we say, Marissa? What do we say? That was the
Well,
best thing that could have happened to me, right?
yeah, a door wouldn't open if that door didn't
If that
close.
door didn't close, exactly. And I've lived my whole life saying things like that to me. So with whatever I'm going through, you know what I say? I don't cuss, or I try not to. I try not to use bad language or foul language or whatever. I try to say a Jim Rohn quote, which I learned this from Jim Rohn, famous motivational speaker from many years ago. Isn't that interesting?
Yeah.
Isn't that interesting? And no matter what it happens, it diffuses the situation and makes things clearer and makes things more palatable. When it doesn't matter if your kid just spilled all the Legos all over the floor. Isn't that interesting? Or, or
Yeah.
the dog, had an accident on the carpet or whatever, stuff that's going to require cleanup, stuff that's going to be a
Mhm.
problem. Your car doesn't start, whatever. Isn't that interesting? So that's another tidbit.
Yeah, I would love to say isn't that interesting for a lot of life situations. That would be great. Um, it does help. And I find too that I looked at myself maybe 25 years ago and I was real positive, like giving inspiration to others, real positive, speaking positive. But I didn't know subconsciously that I was really treating myself and speaking negatively and critically about myself. And I think we have to look at that. Like we could really on the outside be speaking positively and having the affirmations and speaking
Mm-hmm.
that. But then if going throughout the day, you know, we're eating some food and we're like, oh, can't believe I just ate all that. Like I should be on a diet or, this or that, or I'm, I shouldn't be wearing this size pants. And, like the dialogue it's kind of like that inner dialogue has to match the outer, I think, for it to really be
Yes.
effective.
Well, you said at the beginning of the show, you have those should moments, like you should have done
Yeah,
this and should have done that and should have, I should
right.
be wearing this, should be that. Pretty soon we have should all over ourselves, right?
Oh, that sounds like the other
Yeah,
word.
yeah, we should everywhere. Like it's one of those
Yeah,
things where it's just like, okay, I've got to back away from this and think about what's going well and what's going right, or else I'm going to derail my whole train. Like I'm going
right.
to give myself, more problems by my stinking thinking, as Zig Ziglar
Mhm.
once called it. And it's one of those things you can't adjust your attitude, and you can't adjust your altitude in life unless you adjust your attitude.
Yeah,
And
true.
I mean that's just one of those things that's a spiritually motivating thing and whatever. And that's the thing. Attitude is so important to that respect of going through life and going, you know what? I'm a winner. I'm going to do well. And the self-love, because that's the thing I missed out on a lot of my life, Marissa, along with you, was the self-love of
Mhm.
giving away from an empty bucket,
Right.
and not loving myself as much or more as I love other people, and
Absolutely.
giving too selflessly. Yeah.
Yeah. So I want to tell people about you and your projects. And you have a book. And actually, I see here from my little note that that one of my producers wrote in here that there is a free download of your latest book. Is this true?
Yeah, so basically you can go
Wow.
on, but when the show, right after this show, I'm going to have the link up where you can download a PDF of this book right here, which is not a very large book. This is my latest book right here called The An Intentional Optimized Life: Finding Meaning and Purpose in God's Plan, written by Dustin Vaughn Warncke.
Which is
And
you.
that's me.
You're
That's right.
Dustin.
Yay, I'm Dustin. See, there's my picture on the back, and there's a
Yeah.
little thing there. You can purchase it on Amazon. I've got the link to do so on my website, but I'm going to give a free download in PDF form on my website. Or I've also got it set for this Friday for the book to be free to download on Kindle for the
Wow.
Friday through next Wednesday, which will be whenever that is. But basically, that'll be from Friday to Wednesday of the week that we're in.
Yeah.
That basically you can download it on Kindle for no cost. I just did one of those free book promotions on Kindle.
That's so great.
And so that just gives people, I mean, a way to digitally download it. And then also, if you want to purchase a hard copy, they're very inexpensive. I think they're $9.99 or $9.95. And then I also have the audiobook that I did. That is on my website under just dustinsprojects.com. It's in the front. I did it on Vimeo and I slowed down the audio. I have an AI voice of all things reading it. Okay.
Nice.
But it's really a friendly AI voice. Okay.
Okay.
And it's basically a Vimeo video that you can just listen to the whole book on the video. Or you can download it on YouTube as well, or not download it, but listen to it on YouTube as well, stream it.
Yeah, I just want to talk to the audience for a minute. If you are out there and you're thinking, I need change, I don't know what I need to do, and you're making every excuse in the book why you can't make the change, whether that's finance, romance, what time, money, everything. The way to change the pattern is to take one action, just one different action. So right now there's no excuse, okay? Dustin's here. He's offering his book for 5 days to our lounge listeners for free. So all you need to do is go and download it and push yourself through the action. All you need to do is take one action, small action, to disrupt your pattern. And life gets interesting. You live on a different lane in the highway, and then you get on different exits. You miss the detours, you miss the construction, then you end up in California. That's what happens.
That's right. I
Right?
like that. I like that. Well, and the thing is, my whole purpose wasn't ever to sell a million copies or any of that a lot of
Right.
authors get into books for. And I'll talk to you about this, Marissa, offline. Is I just want to give away hope. I just want to spread love. I just want to showcase. And I've got a chapter in my book called "I Had a Dream" that's about the NDE or my STE experience or whatever. That was about how profound that was in my life and everything. And the cover's really pretty. It's great. Look, great addition to your Kindle, and it doesn't cost you anything. So. And then if you want to leave me a review, then that's even better.
Yes, of course. It's not if you
it.
want to. It's not if you want to. If you download his book, you will give him a nice review because that's very generous.
Yeah,
so if you want to follow Dustin on Twitter and Instagram, you just go to @Dustin's Projects. You can also just go on LinkedIn or Facebook, and he'll be on the chat after the show, chatting away, giving you guys, if you want to make some comments. I know we didn't get a lot to the audience tonight, but he will be happy to answer any questions or comments that any of you have. And if you would like to check out Lee Whitting's Facebook page, which is NDE Radio, check that out as well. And once again, author, speaker, outdoor TV show host, producer, Dustin Vaughn Warncke. I got it right this time.
And I was just going to say, yeah, you did great on the last name. Lee Whitting is show NDE Radio. There's a lot of NDE radio, NDE podcast, NDE stuff like that. So NDE radio with Lee Whitting. That's Wittting. There's
Yes.
no H. Lee Whitting, great interviewer, like you are, Marissa.
Thank you.
All
Thank
right.
you.
I mean, just great interviewer and just a great set of interviews. There's over 400 shows in the YouTube archives
Oh my
that you
goodness.
can listen to right here on YouTube if you're on YouTube or Facebook. We post a lot of the shows and stuff like that on there, but there's a link to the YouTube channel on the Facebook page. But I manage that page, put so much love into what we post, and there's so much inspirational stuff, like the stuff I know your listeners would like on that particular Facebook page. So I just wanted to plug that too before we were out.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Dustin. And thank you so much for coming on. And once again, get your free download of Dustin's book, dustinsprojects.com/books. And you can go on Amazon for 5 days up to Wednesday and download your free PDF and leave him a very nice review, because our Lounnggeeites are just such great people. And I know you guys love their little treats that they all get from our amazing guests. So thank you so much, Dustin, for coming on. And for all of you listening, I appreciate you coming. I hope you have a wonderful rest of your weekend. And make sure, like I said in the beginning, if you're not on my email list, to get my monthly energy forecast. It goes out next week. And if you're not getting it, you need to get on my email list basically before the 15th of each month. So if you want to get my July forecast, go on now, go to the link, the description of this video, Facebook, YouTube, and sign up, and make sure you subscribe to YouTube and Facebook. But sign up for the email list. It is free, and you'll get my exclusive monthly energy forecast where I go over every day of the month from July 15th to August 15th. It's going to be a great change in energy. Thank you again, Dustin, and thank you to our lounge listeners for coming on tonight. And we wish you a wonderful, wonderful weekend. Bye, guys. Thank you.